Hi Sagittarius, I'm Ronique and welcome to Scorpio Soul Time. I hope you all are doing well. Welcome to your May 2025 monthly tarot reading. This is where we're going to look at the astrological energies of the month of May. We have big energy moving in the sky as Saturn finally moves into the sign of Aries. It has been in Pisces for the last 2 years, and since it is now beginning a new 30-year cycle here in Aries, this is going to be big energy mounting. We also have Venus moving into Aries, where it was shortly ago before its retrograde, and Pluto will also retrograde in the sign of Aries, or Aquarius, excuse me. Pluto will retrograde in the sign of Aquarius. So big things going on, Sagittarius. Do take a look at the description box below for all the important dates. If you haven't already subscribed to Scorpio Soul Time, I would love if you would. Absolutely free for you. All you have to do is hit the bell and the notification signal for you to know when I upload new content. All right, Sagittarius, let's get right into it. You start off the first week of May, Two of Swords in the reverse, as well as the Five of Cups also in reverse. By the time we get to the second week of the month, Strength card, Major Arcana there, Sag, as well as the Three of Wands in the reverse. Third week of May finds you with the Lovers card, Gemini energy here. I'm going to tell you a lot about Gemini by the time we get to the end of the month. This is going to be really interesting for you all because Gemini sits across the sky from you all, Sagittarius, and there's lots of Gemini energy by the time we get to latter part of the month. We also have the High Priestess, Major Arcana. So 2 Major Arcanas in that week, as well as a Strength card. Another Major Arcana ending with the Judgment card in the reverse, Sagittarius, as well as the Wheel of Fortune also in reverse. So you all really keep the Major Arcanas going here. Most of them are in, well, no, I was gonna say most of them are in reverse, but that's not true. There's a lot of reversals here, but most of these are in the upright. So that's good to see. All right, Sag, let's go ahead and pull a card representing the energy you bring into the month of May. Spirit, if you can send my Sages representing a card they could have been dealing with in the month of April. And you have the Queen of Wands. Now, the Queen of Wands is that card of having some type of passion to be able to start possibly a new project, a new stage of your life. But with it in reverse, this could feel like you are not having all the nurturing, supportive energy from either people around you or the universe. Like you just trying to get to a certain milestone in your life, possibly back in April. And Spirit is saying they can see that you've been having challenges reaching a goal. And so that's going to be big for you this month, Sagittarius, because I do feel like there's this opposing energy, tug of war back and forth as you come into Gemini season later on into May. So we will look at that further as we get into your cards, but let's pull one last card, an oracle message. Spirit, if you can send my Sages an oracle message for the month of May. And you have patience and planning. The Two of well, it's actually the 2, but right here it's a 7. I think it's interesting because the 2 almost symbolizes that Gemini energy with the 2 columns there. But patience and planning, where is it that you need to come together with yourself to be patient through a process and not try to rush divine timing? And I do think that that's always been a challenge for most of us, Sagittarius, is just waiting on the right time. And I do think that Five of Cups and Two of Swords, both in reverse, is that energy of waiting and being patient with the process. So Sagittarius, as you come into that first week of May, really pay attention to where it is that you're really just trying to push at something that you want to get done but is not ready to get done yet. So the Two of Swords in reverse, Five of Cups that first week of the month, when we do have Mars and Leo exiting its retrograde shadow on the 2nd, Pluto moving retrograde in the sign of Aquarius on the 4th, and Mercury enters Taurus on May 10th. I do think during this span of the first 10 days of the month, I do think there's some happier news that comes in, that you're no longer feeling stuck like you were back in April. And I do think that Two of Swords in the reverse is a good sign, meaning like you're no longer in this place where you're like trying to make a decision. I do feel like many of you all will be having some new information come in this month that helps you get over that feeling of stuckness. And I do think that by time Mercury enters Taurus, money conversations could enter this part of your life for you. And I do think many of you all have been having challenges around moving forward, getting things done. I can see here by the time you get to that second week of May with the Strength card, Three of Wands, that Three of Wands is strategizing, not moving as quickly as you would like. But Spirit telling you to relax, because by the time you get to that Scorpio full moon on May 12th, some type of culmination point, Sagittarius, comes here. You all have some realization that the path that you were going before is no longer the right path for you. And that's why this Three of Wands is in reverse. Venus exits retrograde shadow on the 16th. 17th, the sun is conjunct Uranus in Taurus. So more unexpected, possibly money news. This could be dealing with your job. This could be dealing with your home life. And this also could be you needing to figure out what you need to push back on and what you need to no longer take such a full interest in. And I do feel like this is around causes that you have been so adamant about in the past. Spirit is telling you, take a step back, not sure it's worth all your energy. And I do think that's what that patience and planning is referring to here, is be patient, because you're going to see that all that planning in a certain direction may not be worth your time. And by the time you move on to the third week of the month, this is when we have Mercury in Taurus squaring Mars in Leo on the 18th. The sun enters Gemini on May 20th. Now, I really want you to pay attention, Sag, during Gemini season, because I do think that this opposing information could be it could be interesting to see how it plays out in your life, because you have this Lovers card, which is signifying that sun entering Gemini, but you also have this High Priestess, which is you really tapping into your intuition. And I do think that by the time you get to May 24th, when Saturn enters Aries, there is this new waft of energy that comes in that you all are actually relieved, if you will, when Saturn enters Aries. And I think it will be interesting to see how people around you react to that new energy. And I do think that Mercury conjunct Uranus in Taurus on that same day of the 24th, expect big government news or big news around the world, like the global economy. And I do think that you and possibly your partner could be heading in a new direction by time you enter into June. So just pay attention to your intuitive insights, Sagittarius. Continue with that patience and planning, like I mentioned there with your Oracle card. And then by time you're leaving out of May, look at this, Wheel of Fortune and Judgment card. So these two cards are like at the end of the journey. And I do think that you all have been making some false endings or some false starts, meaning like Spirit is telling you that by time Mercury enters Gemini on the 25th, we have a Gemini new moon on the 26th, and the sun is conjunct Mercury in Gemini on the 30th. Really watch yourself during that time period. I do think from, I would say by May 20th into June, you're going to have a lot of oppositions because of all that Gemini energy. And Wheel of Fortune, this is like a stroke of maybe bad luck, but maybe you realizing you weren't on the right path before and you having like a little jolt in your path, someone you talk to, someone comes at the right time to prevent you from moving in a direction you shouldn't have. And that's what that Judgment card is in the reverse. It's like getting to the end of a cycle and then realizing, hey, I just got fired from that job. I can't believe it. I'm mad. But then later on realizing that that company was going to go out of business and it sets you up for success because you already left that job. It's something like that, okay? So really pay attention, Sagittarius, to all of the benefic conversations that happen during May. I do think this is a month that's going to be setting you up for future months, just because, like I said, Gemini sits across the sky from you. Pay attention around that Scorpio full moon and around Saturn entering Aries. So I hope this was helpful for you. Take a look at your sun, moon, and rising signs in this video series. I hope you all have a great May, and I'll talk to you later.